I caught my wife cheating with her boss. I'm not sure how to move on. Let me share my story. For context, I'm a 28-year-old man, my wife is 29 and her boss is a 34-year-old man. My wife and I have been together for almost 10 years. We got married almost 5 years ago and we've been through a lot together. We met in college, I took extra classes to catch up so we would graduate together and we did in 2012. Soon after graduating, I saved some money to study a game design program in Canada, and I invited her to come with me. The easiest way for Canada to let her in was for us to marry, so I proposed and we got married 3 months after. Almost a couple weeks before starting our new life in Canada, everything was magical and great for a while, since everything was new for us. Slowly, studying started to take over more and more of my time since the school I enrolled in was very intensive and demanding. I was willing to put all of my time and energy into it since the successful completion of the program would determine my chances of landing a job in the industry. This, of course, made her feel lonely and cast aside. This was one of the first challenges we faced together, and they only kept getting tougher and more complicated. This, in a way, tempered us and taught us to communicate better as a couple. It forced us to state our long-term goals as individuals and it made our differences very clear to work on, so we did. I eventually got the job I so hard fought for, and things slowly improved and the relationship went through some ups and downs, but never getting completely unendurable. Just until last year. It was clear that some of our differences as a couple were getting easier to agree upon. But there were some fundamental differences that always present. So I decided to tolerate until I found myself resenting the amount of emotional work I was subjecting myself in order to have just a single weekend of not arguing. This eventually made me feel like I was married to a little sister trying to tiptoe among eggshells in order to avoid an argument. My libido was completely non-existent, and I was desperately trying to figure out why. This is where the snowball first started rolling down the hill. I couldn't stop looking at her like she was asking for too much out of me, and I could feel myself falling into a vicious cycle turning me away from what I had fought for so long. I just grew more and more resentful towards my decisions. Eventually, I felt completely out of touch and I started just cruising with only my work and my hobbies to carry me through the routine. She communicated how alone she felt and with whatever energy I had left, I tried to tell her how maybe this was all temporary and that this cycle was particularly dark but we would eventually rise together and feel better again. Last week it all felt like diving into ice-cold water when I found out. I saw a text message from her boss flashing on her computer. It was late and she had told me that she went dancing with her friends, so this was a red flag and I couldn't help myself but click on it and open the conversation. I read so many things I wish I didn't. I could feel my heart sinking and pumping faster and faster as I scrolled down the whole conversation. She was saying how his sister could see him caressing her knee, and eventually I found a message from him confirming sexual contact. Just playing it back in my head makes me nauseous. I wish I knew things were that bad before. After that night, I had a day to myself to think and I confronted her after. She confessed everything. Tears were rolling down her face while doing so and I was just stunned. I couldn't show any emotions at that moment, I was very scared and disappointed. I took it all in and gave her two choices. We could end everything right there and then, and sort our stuff so we could move away. Or we could put the relationship on standby and keep living together while we figure out what to do, with the condition that she would have to give her 2-week notice and quit her job. She decided to try the latter. It's been a week and change. This definitely woke us out of our comfort zones, and things started off getting better for each of us. Seeing her as something I could lose made me want to fight for something that I took for granted and my libido suddenly returned. I miss looking at her like that. But what happened is completely wrong and conflicting. We've been through so much, and we've decided to fight for this for so long. I'm convinced that what we used to have was somewhat rare and I'm willing to fight for it. But fear is always present now, and I'm constantly debating whether I'm making the right decisions or not. I feel like just throwing all away is childish, especially now that things have been slowly improving. I told her I can't truly pardon her, but I understand why she felt the way she did. What happened is just a symptom of the state of the relationship, and I will admit that it could have been me in her position, When things got dark for me. Where do I draw the line? Am I being idealistic? Is this a pattern that will only repeat itself once we find ourselves within our comfort zones and into the valley of our relationship cycle? TLDR. We have a history together, and we share a lot of important traits. This didn't stop doubt and fear to seep into our relationship as she made a wrong and selfish decision which she regrets. I am battling a sea of questions. I'm not certain if I'm going to regain the trust, yet I care so much for her. I truly want to see her happy, but I'm not certain she will ever be with me given our differences. Update. After 7 months. It's hard to believe it's been this long already. After reviewing my original post, I can see that a lot of things are clear and defined now, but there's still a lot that hasn't really changed since then. Back then, shortly after everything happened, I took a vacation week and went back to see my parents and sisters. I told them about the situation and naturally they were all disappointed. Fortunately though, they were very adamant about respecting any decision I considered the best. After debating it a lot, I concluded that the least we could do was try to grow out of the circumstances as a couple, and see how we felt about it. This, unsurprisingly, was a very idealistic plan. Things just were not that simple. Shortly after my time away, we had to move out of our apartment to a new one for unrelated reasons, and this was scheduled to happen from before the situation happened. Packing up was just a painful experience. Should we put our things in separate boxes? Or are we going to be practical about it for now and figure out what happens later? We moved into the new apartment and the relationship seemingly froze in time for a couple months. There were unpacked boxes sitting idle, framed posters that were never hanged. It was impossible to set up our new apartment without knowing exactly if this was going to be our place or not. It was interesting how our environment accurately mirrored how we felt inside. For me personally, it was helping me get through the days, just not having to worry about moving forward in that regard. By then I was very emotionally tired, and I took that chance to pretend like everything was stable for a while. Eventually, we had to move on. Get out of the limbo we made. My determination to make things better for us was quickly challenged whenever I saw ourselves as a new marriage. What I originally thought only as leftover anger that would eventually go away only solidified and took shape into what could be described as demons within me. For example, she would go out with a female friend of hers. Everything was normal until I sent a message to check in with her, and after just 20 minutes of waiting, those negative feelings would grow into a lot of anxiety, anger and desperation. As much as I wanted, I couldn't do anything else. This state replaced every thought in my mind. This experience was so strongly negative, I only had to leave it twice before deciding for good that this plan was not going to work. I sat down and explained this, and took steps to break down everything she could do to alleviate my anxiety and regain my trust. These conditions were in my perspective very reasonable. I was expecting her to message me whenever she arrived or left work, and if she had any plans for the night. The other condition was just to pay attention to her cell phone for calls or messages, since she had a bad habit of forgetting about it for hours at a time. She wasn't thrilled about this, even after I made it clear it was only temporary, and that she needed to regain my trust. I understand why for some people these conditions could be unacceptable. But, if she could not do this for me, I felt we were not both trying equitably. This was what I needed to know to move the limbo forward in the opposite direction. Sadly, but for the best, we took the decision to end the relationship. She started looking for apartments to move to shortly after. She eventually confessed that she was still in contact with her old boss. I feel we took the right decision. Last night she took the last of her things and moved out. We're on good terms. I can't see a friendship between us right now obviously, but I hope we can reach that point sometime in the future. She gave me her apartment keys, and that was it. I truly wish her the best. I hope she can find the happiness she's looking for. My plan now is to try to have some fun and enjoy my solitude. There are so many games I want to play and new things I want to learn. Part of me is still scared, but I now know it's only about giving it some time. Things will all feel normal eventually. I'm glad I'll be there to experience it all over again. TLDR. The relationship froze in time, new anxiety hovered over the relationship after the incident and conditions had to be put in place in order to rebuild trust. After not being able to reach an agreement, we decided we gave it a fair try and we wished each other the best. I'm learning how to make bread now. I walked in on my girlfriend and her married boss. TL, Dr. I'm not good enough. I'm never good enough. I should just crawl in a corner and die. I don't know where to start. I am a wreck and it's 4 days later. We booked a cruise in January together for a week and she kept flaking on meeting to talk about hotel arrangements and such. So I went out with part of her Christmas present to surprise her and talk about it, and I was the one surprised. She told me she's been dating him for a while. I could call her names and say bad things, but I'm just so very hurt. All the nights she couldn't hang out because she got stuck at work, or when she flaked on my birthday because there was an accident at work, I feel so stupid. I thought she was better than this. I thought she thought more of me than this. I don't even know what to do. I've been trying to change jobs, all my roommates are moving and I've been trying to figure out where to leave, trying to afford a car while I've been having to pay for everything with our cruise, over $4,000 total currently, because money is tight for her. And the one person I thought I could trust. The person who I believed every day told me they loved me. Now her promotions every other month are less about her quality and more about her body. God, I'm so hurt. How could she do this to me? I'm less successful than him, but I'm a damn better person. Example, I've never cheated. I just want to cry and scream and throw up at the same time all the time. I feel so very worthless, like how wasn't I good enough? What did he have that I couldn't offer? The whole time I was at her place talking about it, she never reacted. Just sat there with a smug smile the whole time. I feel so worthless. I gave her a chance to talk. To tell me her side. Told her she had a day and I was done with her flaking. She ignored me the whole day every time I tried to call her. I don't know what to do. I can't do this anymore. I blocked her on everything, but if I ran into her I don't know what would happen. If I would scream or cry or collapse or what. I just want to curl up until this is all over, but I know it's not over until I feel it all. My wife, 38 female, has been cheating on me, 40 male, with her boss since August. Little background. We've been together for 17 years, married 10 years in October. We have 2 small children, 3 and 7. She has been the sole provider since we decided to have children. I stay at home with them while she works. Our relationship had always been seemingly easy. We parent together really well, and our kids aren't brats, yet. We've always had what I consider a free-flowing relationship. We give each other space when we need it. I get one night out a week solo, and so does she. This has served our relationship well, especially after we had kids. Staying home with kids is a hard day in and out. And stopping my career at the time was the last thing I ever thought would happen when we got married. But here we are. And I wouldn't change a thing. I love my family and my kids. Around October of last year, she started acting different. Kinda aloof and distracted. On edge. And then suddenly wanting me to change things. We need to start going to marriage counseling. I don't want you drinking anymore. I need you to get a job and contribute financially. No more spending money on X. It was all kinda sudden, and I wasn't sure what was going on. But I told her whatever she wanted to do or have me do, I'd be willing to try. I just wanted her to stop acting different. I even asked her at the time, is there anything I should know? Is something going on? Are you cheating on me? Her response was no, she just needed me and us to make changes. Fair enough, I thought. We tried getting a therapist. But it was hard finding one that fit her schedule and a babysitter. I got and quit a job that I felt underpaid and underappreciated in my old field. Things slowly got worse over the course of winter. I got pretty depressed around Thanksgiving into the new year. I was drinking too much, getting more depressed, etc. I pulled myself out of my self-pity hole by the end of January, got another better job, and felt like things were moving in the right direction. Things were seemingly getting back on track. At least for me. I was drinking less, working out more, staying home, and trying to work on us. About 5 weeks ago, I get a knock on the door. It's my wife's boss's wife. She is shaking and clutching papers. I recognize her, company picnics/parties, and say hello. She starts to tell me she thinks our spouses are having an affair and freaking out. Shows me text message data from August to the day before. My wife's out at the gym. I'm not sure what to say, but my kids are home. I try to calm her down, but she starts freaking out, yelling, trying to come inside. I tell her I'll give her my number and call her later that week. Now I'm spinning. I call my wife straight away. Tell her what happened, and as calmly as possible ask her to tell me the truth. Are you cheating on me with your boss? Yes, was her response. I was floored. I still am. In the following weeks, we've gone back and forth about everything. What we want. What we want for our kids. How hard it is to have any time together with our busy lives. Why it happened. Where to go from here. Why the hell did you put us in this situation? I'm emotionally drained. I feel like my soul has been ripped out and stomped on. My trust is broken. I feel like this is my fault. It's not, it's both of us. It's just a gut check to say the least. I guess my questions are mainly these. At what point is too much enough for me? I know this varies in each relationship, but what's the breaking point? Should I be trying to work with her, when I'm not sure she even wants to stay? Am I being unreasonable to assume she'll do this again? How do I even begin to heal/trust again? Yes, we are finally in therapy, and it's going well. I want to. It's my wife, I love her exclusively, but I'm done being the naive one. If we do work things out, what future things should I do to make sure our marriage is a safe space? For her and I? That's all I have time for. Thanks for any input. TL, DR. My wife screwed her boss and I'm trying to figure out what to do. 30 male, walked in on wife, 28 female, cheating wife her, gay friend. I have been married to my wife for 3 years. We have a 1-year-old child. I have always been faithful, and up until yesterday, I thought my wife was faithful as well. I am an engineer and sometimes I work on different ships. When that happens, sometimes I would be gone for weeks. I did stay in contact with my wife via video chat. She never showed any signs that she was unhappy. In the last year, she started being friends with this gay coworker. He would sometimes come by the house on the weekend to visit and they would go shopping. He even brought his boyfriend once. So, I was not prepared for what I saw when I came home earlier than expected yesterday, due to the work been done earlier than anticipated. I got home around 9 p.m., and the first thing I noticed was that her friend's car was parked in the driveway. I got out of the car and walked into a dark living room. No one was anywhere in sight. I checked upstairs, in my son's room, he wasn't there in his crib. I checked almost everywhere, and still no sign of my wife or her friend. However, my heart was not ready for what I saw when I went down to the basement. My wife was on the bed, on her back and her gay friend was having sex with her. I got heated but was able to restrain myself from hitting him. He picked up his clothes and ran out of the house. I asked her, "Where's our son?" She took him to her mom's house so she and her friend can sleep together. I want a divorce, but I have put so much into our marriage. She cried all night saying how sorry she was about what happened. She said she was lonely and things happened. What should I do?